young black men and young white men to go at each other based on perceived fears and insecurities on each side. Now, I personally don't think that Mr. Malik himself is that smart. I think that someone must be pulling his strings and showing him how to do that. Besides, he only has like maybe maybe 8 actual members in his organization, and yet somehow the socialist media has played his song really loud for him. And of course, you see a guy like Eric Holder, who's supposed to be a son of the slaves, finally made big in this country, along with his partner there, Mr. Barack Obama, who none of us know what he is. They kind of stoked the fire on this thing by not prosecuting these black fellows for what they had done in 2008. And as you know, had that been at the polling booth there in Philadelphia, had that been 2 white guys in some white sheets, or just 2 white guys, period, to ties, threatening other people's voting rights, disenfranchising them with their voting rights, the country would have went ballistic. They would have been thrown in jail, every book on the shelf would have been thrown at them. But for some odd, crazy reason, which I'm surmising, they let them go because whoever is behind the scenes wants to create this war, this battle between black and white for the purpose of chaos. And of course, as you know, the thinking is once you have chaos and out of the ashes of the burned, destroyed nation will grow a new socialist regime. So there's a lot of that going on, no doubt. But at the same time, I feel that, I don't know, have you ever heard of the Willie Lynch papers?
The what?
Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch. You know who he is?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Willie Lynch. Okay. Willie Lynch was a plantation owner in the South during the days of slavery. And there's a letter going about. You can look up on the internet, you'll see it. The Willie Lynch letter. And what Willie Lynch was telling his fellow plantation owners was that if you want to maintain control of your high number of slaves on your plantation, or want them to revolt against you, etc., keep them divided, keep them fighting amongst themselves, keep them, don't allow them to really honestly communicate with each other. And like crabgrass, you don't have to really manicure crabgrass. It will it will hold itself in place. And to this day, that philosophy, that concept is working perfectly. If you take a walk through the black community in this country, for the amount of money and resources that passes through our community, for the amount of people in positions of power throughout the country, the black people in this country lead the nation in every negative social statistic that there is. We kill each other more than the Ku Klux Klan could have ever dreamed of killing. In fact, we've killed more of ourselves than the slave owners actually killed. Of course, it wasn't in the interest of the slave owner to kill his property, but nonetheless, I think that's one reason why the Ku Klux Klan basically have gotten very, very quiet. You notice that they've taken off their sheets, they put it back on their beds, and they put it back on their pillows. Why? Because we are doing the job for them. This is the best thing that could have happened. So, but what I'm driving at here is that the black leaders in this country want to blame the white man again for our issues and for our sickness. So they blame this Willie Lynch letter. When you look closer at the situation, Willie Lynch did not divide and conquer us. I don't believe that. I believe that we blacks already were divided, and we were already conquered. Not by whites, but we had already divided and conquered ourselves in Africa, long before the white man, as they say, the proverbial white man, the Portuguese and the Spaniards, eventually the English, showed up on the west coast of the continent.
The slave ships were owned by Jews in Europe, and the blacks that were put on those ships were sold to them by their own kinsmen, by their own chieftains, and also
of course it wasn't all Jews. it wasn't all Jews. It was certain Jews, no doubt, who were involved in that slave trade with those ships. But whether it was Jews, whether it was Christians, the real issue is black folks themselves on the continent themselves. They and the Muslims were very much involved in the slave trade. So we didn't like each other over there. As you look at us today in Africa. Look at Africa. We didn't like each other. It had nothing to do with skin color. It may have had to do with the color of the feathers, or the loincloth, or the outfit that they wore, something like that. But it had nothing to do with skin color. It was not a racial incident. It was animus towards each other. And when we were brought onto the slave ships, when we were put on those slave ships, we still didn't like each other. And on the trip over here, in the hull of the slave ship, even though we suffered the similar fate, we still didn't like each other. And we came off that ship not angry at the white guy. We feared the white guy, the strange cat with the blue eyes who was treating us bad. We feared him. But our anger was not towards him. Our anger was, if I could get past the white guy and get back to shore, I'm going to kill that black guy, the guy that put me here. That's the issue. And see, we came off that ship with that kind of madness, and that stayed with us as we were put into the slave quarters. I don't know, my preacher from Mississippi was a young man. He used to tell me, as a young man, he says, Ted, say something about black people. No one, the old slaves say, no one cares what goes on in the slave quarters. Now, that wasn't speaking to the white man in the big house, nor was it speaking to the white overseer who at nighttime would go across the field there to his house with his wife and children. That statement was about the black overseers within the slave quarters. That's where we received the brunt of our oppression. That's who we have been mad at over the years. Hit when slavery ended, when Jim Crow racism or the Jim Crow laws ended, black people resumed the gangster tribal warfare that you are seeing to this day. So it's not what Willie Lynch did to us. Willie Lynch simply capitalized off of a circumstance that already existed. It's what we had done to ourselves. And I say the same thing to any foreign entity that has wormed its way into our country, i.e. your president, Barack Hussein Obama, and his crew, that is not his fault. I don't blame the socialists or the communists for what's going on in our country. I blame us. We, the people of the United States, have not lived up to our oath of office, which is the preamble. That's where I see the problem. I don't see the problem as an external force. I see the problem as internal. You and I, my white brother, we need to come together, and then we can stop these invasions into our country.
You know, one of my chat room people had just talked about it. Max, you might shoot me that over again.
Hello?
Yeah. I said, Max, of my listeners here, one of my audience here, ought to send me the quote he said about blacks and whites. Somebody that had done a book had a quote that if the blacks and whites ever got it together and started working together, we could kick this whole New World Order's ass. And one of the things I don't think people realize is that the whites were slaves too. The white servitude is acknowledged as having existed in America. It is almost always termed temporary indentured servitude, or part of the convict trade, which after the Revolution of 1776 centered on Australia instead of in America. The convicts transported to America under the 1723 Waltham Act numbered 100,000. And the convicts that we've got right now, I mean, Ayn Rand kind of had it right, didn't she? She said the government has no control over honest citizens, so they got to make criminals out of us. And they've done that to the blacks by funneling the heroin into from Vietnam into the black communities.
Of course, I remember that.
And let's see, they did the same thing to China during the Opium Wars.
Sure, absolutely. But then again, whatever the Brits did to to the Chinese. And remember, the Brits came, what, almost doggone near 6, 7, 8, 9,000 miles away.